Today on the DML News Podcast, we're going to talk about Trump's latest executive order to save our elections. We're also going to talk about the latest updates in the text messaging scandal. And we're going to talk about Jasmine Crockett and her pretty rude comment about Governor Abbott and what Congress is hoping to do about it. We have this and a lot more. And as always, it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hey everybody, it's Denny here today again at the seat with Ryan on the controls. He'll be joining us too. I want to just kind of make a quick announcement here just as a little update. As of right now, I don't believe we will have live shows for the rest of the week. If anything changes on that, we'll let you guys know. DML's just been very busy. He's not even in town right now. He's just been very busy handling with different things he's been trying to get done, and he's had some appointments too. Things he spoke about on the show before. But just as with our communication with him, it's looking like maybe the rest of this week it's just going to be pre-recorded. If that does change, though, we'll of course let you guys know. But with that said, we always have our little announcements we want to get to. Everything we're about to talk about, it can be found on the 47 Report. And if you're not signed up, you should sign up. I would go to 47report.com, put your email in, become a member of the community. We're rapidly advancing with our open rates and with the reviews, and I love going back and seeing the feedback. And even if there's something you want to critique about, me and Ryan go through the criticisms, anything that you say, hey, I don't like the formatting of this, or hey, what about this? Please, we take everything into account, but we appreciate every feedback, every response, every comment we get with it on anything we do. So we urge you that you sign up. We urge that you share it too, especially that when you share it to two people on our referral program, you get this awesome coaster. We sent out a few yesterday. We're going to send out some more today that came in. So definitely jump on that. And for DML CBD, we have been running one-day BOGOs all this week. Monday, I believe it was soft gels. Yesterday was Power Plus. If you have any issues in the ordering process of that, you can always email Ashley at dmlcbd.com. Today's BOGO, or buy one, get one free, is our gummies. Now, I like the gummies, but I could tell you Ashley and Kelly, our sisters, they love the gummies, and my mom too. They're awesome. They taste delicious. So if you're looking to jump on that, because as we've kind of mentioned throughout this week, we are looking to kind of shut down this studio and make a move this summer. It's been kind of a multi-month process that we've been trying to get this accomplished. We came very close in December, but a deal fell through with a place we were looking at. So we're back to square one, but we kind of have an idea of where we may be heading with the studio. So with that in mind, we have plenty of inventory. Or actually, I shouldn't really say plenty. We do have some inventory that we are looking to clear out before we move, and we always find the BOGO as a way to give back too. So until midnight tonight, you can go to our website, dmlcbd.com/BOGO, or if you want to go to the gummy page specifically, it doesn't matter which one, you could do dmlcbd.com/gum, G-U-M, place an order, and you will get double of what you order. Whether it's one, it'll be two. If it's two, it'll be four, and so on and so forth. That's until midnight tonight, so we definitely urge that you guys jump on it if you can. Now, with that said, Trump signed some executive orders yesterday. And before we get into the one that I really would like to talk about, which was concerning elections, I want to play a quick clip here of what executive order he had signed yesterday that maybe is going to have some, or certain Democrats and maybe some DOJ and FBI officials quaking in their boots a little bit. Here is Trump signing an executive order on the declassification of Crossfire Hurricane.
Next, sir, we have a presidential memorandum for your attention. This memorandum requires the immediate declassification of all FBI files relating to the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. This was obviously one of the instances of the weaponization of law enforcement powers of prosecution against you and others. We believe that it's long past time for the American people to have a full and complete understanding of what exactly is in those files.
Which gives the media the right to go in and check it. You probably won't bother because you're not going to like what you see. But this was total weaponization. It's a disgrace. Should never happen in this country. but now you'll be able to see for yourselves, all declassified. Is that correct? Would you
Yes, sir.
say? All declassified?
Yes, sir.
Everything?
The FBI file with there's a classified annex, but other than that, this we'll put everything in the public eye.
Is anybody going to look? What about you? You going to look? And frankly, the FBI should be ashamed of themselves, and so should the Department of Justice, and so should Biden.
Now, they kind of mentioned it within the clip, but just as a reminder, Crossfire Hurricane was that insane operation back in 2016, headed by Mueller and all the other radicals out there, trying to pinpoint or make some kind of strenuous connection that the Trump campaign was working with Russia. That turned out to be a total waste of time and money because we found out that there was no connection whatsoever. Anything, Putin has almost verbally stated he would rather Trump not be in office because he knows Trump is not a pushover when it comes to dealing with them. With that said, the declassification is probably going to show some details here of meddling and maybe some fraudulent practices as to how they got that investigation to go forward anyway. I think someone like Hillary Clinton should be a little worried too, but I think it'll be very interesting to see when those files are declassified, how they were really trying to pull almost a blueprint out of thin air to try and nab Trump as if he was a Russian agent. No one believed it or bought it because Trump is president today again, should have been in 2020, which maybe we'll get into that now. This was in the 47 report, and I think this is incredible. I'm totally expecting some radical judge to somehow jump in front of it, but Trump yesterday did sign an executive order as well to secure our elections, federal elections. He can only do so on the federal level because a place like California, we know, is not really about integrity when it comes to their elections. So with that said, I would just want to go right to the next clip. Here is Trump talking about his executive order to secure our future elections.
And it's so easy to do it, and we should go to paper ballots. We should go to one-day voting. We should go to voter ID. And just one other thing, proof of a thing called citizenship in the United States. Wouldn't that be nice? How simple does that sound? Proof of citizenship, voter ID, one-day voting, and paper ballots. You know, paper ballots are very secure. They have watermark paper. It's very intricate stuff. It's very technologically advanced, even though it's paper. And you'd have no trouble. You wouldn't have dishonest elections, and you'd have them all done by 10 o'clock in the evening. You know, France went to that, and not that I want to copy anybody, but many others have also. And they had 38 million votes, and it was all done at 10 o'clock. They had a winner, they had a loser. That was it. Nobody was complaining. And they had it backed up with paper. And it's so easy to do. The other thing, you'd save about, this would cost you about 8% of what the machines cost. So the paper would be much less expensive. So if you're looking to save some money, that's a good way to save it. So it's a shame that we've gone through it. We've gone through a bad election, a really bad election. The election was so bad. And think of it. You wouldn't have had the October 7th disaster.
I think this is fantastic. I think this is something that maybe or probably you all agree with, is very long overdue. Centuries past, I mean, when you look at almost ancient Rome, they would have their citizens return to their birthplace to conduct a census check. You know, even if you had moved hours or miles away, you would have to return once a year to properly formulate their census. And with voting for the longest time, it was always on one day. It used to be paper ballots. And this kind of mirrors the idea that, or I should say doesn't mirror the idea that, oh, with technology, things should become easier, faster, more efficient. It's been anything but. 2020 is the biggest example. I think we can all agree here. We don't believe Joe Biden really won with a whole lot of authenticity or integrity behind those ballots that were casted. I still think mail-in ballots is the greatest mistake to ever happen to this country with elections. And while it did become almost a useful counter approach for this go around, because a lot of us were saying, maybe not so much us, because I really am a staunch believer in the one-day vote. But there were others out there that said, hey, we're going to fight fire with fire. If this is the Democrat approach, why don't we do it first? And with the mobilized effort of getting those mail in ballots in on the Republican side, this is why we're here today. Because if it was the other way around, I don't know if I'd be speaking into this microphone. So I want to congratulate the idea that we were able to kind of spin the tables on the Democrats. But Trump kind of says it in the clip. Paper ballots, they can't be screwed with to that extent. You can't manipulate a digital tabulation like you can with a paper ballot. And when it's on one day, or at least within the scope of one day, I know and I know it's not going to be 100% of Americans will be able to vote on a singular day. We have military members overseas who would like to cast their vote, and that's a little complicated if they can't be at the ballot box. But this idea that it needs to be even farther from a 90% or 80% rate of people voting on day one is insane. And it just leaves the opportunity for manipulation, for fraud, for the big trucks coming in at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. with a bunch of ballots that popped out of nowhere. And the idea that there are states in this country, I mean, quite a bit, that do not require proof of citizenship or voter ID to vote is absolutely criminal. Criminal, capital C. I want to read, and I'm not going to read all of them because there's a lot, but this was actually posted by Fox Business, the countries that require voter ID to vote in their elections. Iceland, Sweden, New Zealand, Denmark, Canada, Ireland, Switzerland, Finland, Australia. Those are a lot of Western countries, right? Well, we got more. Taiwan, India, Chile, Cyprus, Slovenia, South Africa, Jamaica. I mean, Ukraine. Ugh, well, that might be a little questionable. Who knows? Pakistan, Iraq, Haiti. So you got, and again, that's just a handful out of, I mean, Brian saw the photo. I mean, what do you got to guess, right? There's probably about 50 to 80 on this list. And yet, and I'm sure there's probably even more they just couldn't fit on. And yet somehow in our country, we have states that are saying, no, you might need one to drive. You might need one to maybe to open a bank account, or, to be able to go to school. But when it comes to maybe voting for a leader to, I don't know, become governor or become a representative in the Senate or the president of the United States, the idea that that is not a requirement, that you could just show up and cast the ballot and no questions asked, again, capital C, criminal. So what we really need is this executive order to become law and the lay of the land, so that way we do not have a 2020 situation. I mean, tell me a more detrimental election than the election of Joe Biden. 4 years of his efforts to dismantle the country, and not even really his efforts, just the people around him, has beyond crippled this country when it comes to inflation, the amount of people that have come in 4 years. I mean, yeah, the Trump administration is doing, their power, and we talked about it with Tom Homan yesterday, to get these guys deported. I know I speak for it, and many others too. We would love to see those numbers increase, but it just kind of sucks that we have so many of them anyways, because you got Alejandro Mayorkas allowing them to come over with basically, no vetting, no checks, no security at our actual border, which maybe just as a side note, I think you guys are going to love to hear this. Trump yesterday just ended, we had this in the 47 report, he just ended Alejandro Mayorkas' 6-month extension to have Secret Service agents protecting him. Fantastic. I don't think that man deserves another day of Secret Service protection, because he didn't protect our borders. So when you have 4 years of that and how much it's been able to seriously wound the country, this executive order is probably going to be one of the most important that Trump signs. I've been mentioning it on the podcast. I mean, the midterms, it's kind of crazy, right? We just got through the presidential election. It's just, we just had, our elections with Congress too. We're less than 2 years away from the midterms. They're going to creep up fast. I know my father tweeted it yesterday. AOC, she's been on her Stop the Oligarchy tour, just had her biggest fundraising day since starting that little tour with Bernie Sanders. I don't really see AOC as a threat. Neither do I see Tim Walz as a threat. But at the same time, What happens when you sleep at the wheel? The car crashes. We don't want to sleep at the wheel. We want airtight, no room for error elections. And I said it in the 47 report this morning. If that could happen, if we could actually have super secure elections on the federal level, and while states like California are a lost cause, if maybe some of the more purple states can adopt practices to have state law be a little more compliant, such as show your damn ID to vote, I think Republicans, for as long as they literally get their act together, could win every election. Seriously, I said it. Two things: follow the will of the American voter and secure the elections. And boom, you should have no problems. The people have asked for this. We may have the radical Boasbergs and all those judges throwing up, injunctions. And we said it yesterday, the most injunctions to ever be applied to a president is currently right now President Trump. The second, President Trump in 2016. So my overall point is we can't sleep at the wheel. We got to make sure that, Trump is one man and he's got a great team behind him, but no one even I talk to feels like our elections are airtight and secure. We know it. No one's got that feeling at the ballot box that, yeah, I know my vote counts, but how do I know that the illegal alien that was being pushed to the beginning of, remember those videos, the shuffling of the random illegal aliens who could barely even speak English to go vote? Needs to end. And maybe if these deportation efforts do ramp up, you could actually see some impact where you can't really get their votes casted. Or if DOGE really does clean up, some of the fraud that's going on there, that this would actually help too. So I love it. I love the fact that Trump is going to make sure he addresses it, because if there was someone who got burned through this whole thing, it was clearly Donald Trump. Now, with that said, we started the show yesterday with this story, and it has been developing a little bit. I wrote about it in the 47 report for this morning. The text message scandal. Some of the Democrats are calling it Signalgate. After the whole, it's like anything that's a scandal now gets a little Watergate tag at the end of it. So, as a little reminder, you have Trump administration officials like J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, John Ratcliffe, all in this group chat. Somehow in the last 2 weeks, a radical Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic was added in there. And rather than Goldberg taking the honest route of saying, hey, I shouldn't be in here, he just kind of crept quietly and decided to take screenshots like a little girl, and then put a little post out on The Atlantic trying to expose war plans. Well, here's how that's gone in the last 24 hours. The Atlantic has kind of issued a subtle retraction. They're no longer using the term war plans because nothing secretive or concrete or even super sensitive was actually revealed, other than just a little bit of the timeline regarding the strike on the Houthis. And yet, with him publishing that article, the Democrats are taking it to a high new extent of saying that this is the biggest breach of national security in decades. How little they forget maybe that Hillary Clinton was probably the one to take that top spot with her email server. Just saying. Regardless, there's aspects of the Trump administration here where they are trying to do their due diligence of the cleanup duty of what actually happened. So, based on what we have learned, it seems Mike Waltz, who was the representative of Florida, who is now a national security advisor to Trump, it seems that it was one of his staffers that was the person to accidentally add Jeffrey Goldberg to the chat. And yesterday I had said maybe that this was all an intentional ploy. I'm starting to think less of that based on their statements here, that there was an accidental measure here. Alex Wong is the Deputy National Security Advisor who is a staffer for Mike Waltz. There's speculation he is the staffer that accidentally added Goldberg when he meant to add Jamison Greer, who is the trade representative of the Trump administration. So he added Jeffrey Goldberg when it was supposed to be Jamison Greer. I can see where the mistake could be made, but when you're working in that kind of level of government here, you want to be airtight. The mistake was made. Trump administration is taking the accountability for it. But again, no secret agents' names were revealed. No secret locations were revealed. And ultimately, this is kind of, as I wrote, a nothing burger. This is going to get blown up, and this is what the Democrats are going to try to stick to for a while. I didn't even cut these videos, but I'll just tell you. I mean, perfect example. Representative Ted Liu from California is talking about how Signal, the app, this is the app that they use for the communication, is not appropriate for government employees to use. But then John Ratcliffe, who was in that chat, and the CIA director, he's been testifying. He testified yesterday and today, along with Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel, about national security measures to one of the Senate and a House committee. But he basically said that it's very common for Signal to be used by government officials because of those channels that can be privatized. And it's a way for communication that would be maybe a level below classified communication. Either way, this was obviously a mistake. It's time to move on. If there was something super detrimental that would have been crippling to us, then by all means take the flak. But at this stage, at this measure, it really isn't all too, I don't know, red alarm-ish, I guess. I have a clip here. Ryan's going to play it for you. Mike Waltz himself basically talks about the not so nice, or I should say, the lack of integrity on the part of the Atlantic with publishing this report. Let's play that clip.
Lied about Russia, lied about Gold Star families, lied about even as last year in terms of the president paying for the family of a Gold Star family that he absolutely did. I mean, lie after lie after lie.
Have they ever apologized for any of that?
No. I mean, this is, do we care about the mainstream media? Do we care about the Atlantic? What I care about is staying focused on mission, accomplishing the president's agenda, getting these things done, cleaning up the Biden messes from Afghanistan to Ukraine to the Houthis to the border to China all over South America to the Arctic where we're completely exposed to NATO that's not paying up. And the president has had success after success. He's got a fantastic national security team.
Yeah.
Now, yesterday, Trump also, commented more about what had happened. He is sticking by Waltz. There's all these calls for Mike Waltz needs to be fired. Pete Hegseth needs to be fired. I completely disagree. If you start firing these people based on a mistake that is obviously getting overblown, it's going to start to maybe indicate that, they know they're in the wrong. No. I think Mike Waltz is probably going to give a very stern talking to his staffer if he hasn't already. And the next measure is going to be, okay, we clearly should not be using Signal for almost any of these communications. Trump, so I'll play the clip. This is from Trump being interviewed by a Newsmax anchor regarding the Atlantic.
Goldberg's bad news. It's the Atlantic. It's failing. It's probably going to be out of business soon. And it's a terrible magazine. They made up all sorts of stories about me with standing over the grave of soldiers. There's nobody that treats the military better than me, and they treat me well too. They showed that in the election. But they write stories. It's such a disgrace. And there are plenty of others also. But Goldberg's a loser. His magazine's a big loser. And what it was, we believe, is somebody that was on the line with permission, somebody that was with Mike Waltz, worked for Mike Waltz at a lower level, had, I guess, Goldberg's number or called through the app, and somehow this guy ended up on the call. Now, it wasn't classified, as I understand it. There was no classified information. There was no problem, and the attack was a tremendous success. So I can only go by what I've been told. I wasn't involved in it, but I was told by, and the other people weren't involved at all. But I feel very comfortable, actually.
Ryan, it's obviously something the Democrats are going to heavily push and heavily over-exaggerate, probably for the next few weeks. I'm sure you could already kind of see it in some of these committee hearings. Mike or Senator Bennett, the guy with the little squeaky voice, he's throwing a whole fit. Doesn't ever throw a fit about the money we give to Ukraine, but they're all up in arms, believing that this is going to be something that kills the integrity of the Trump administration going forward. And yet, I don't see anyone, I guess, on the right or just with a normal, sane mind feeling that this was something that was really, I don't know, just so detrimental.
Yeah, I think it's because the Trump administration hasn't had a mishap or hasn't missed yet. And so the left doesn't have that opportunity to carry on with the story. And so when they get this little, I would say crumbs from a breadcrumbs, because it's not really that big of a story. It's all right. Someone messed up. Like you said, they shouldn't have done that. But it's not like they revealed something insane or crazy. It was just them talking through, not the top secret channels, but they're communicating, and it's better to do it through that app if it's even the CIA director is backing it up. But I think it's just they don't really have enough ammunition, so they're just going to run with this story and try and twist it to feed their narrative. And I think the American people are kind of too smart for that now, except for that like 20-30%, which will believe anything. But just let them keep showing their true colors and how they're pretty.
Yeah, I think it shows the true colors of this Goldberg. I mean, I said it yesterday. If Film Illusion or if DML or whoever, with more of a rational way of thinking, was put into that chat, I think the step would be either just immediately remove yourself. I think it's if let's just say it was me, if I was added and I was like, whoa, I'm really not supposed to be here, I would remove myself. Or if I couldn't remove myself, I'd message whoever and be like, I'm not supposed to be here. Clearly, he's from the Atlantic, so I guess we can't be too shocked. But the fact that the man just sat on it for 2 weeks and then tried to make this giant publishing report that clearly has been, more muddled with exaggeration than actual, fact or real concern, it's very anti-American of him, in my opinion. I feel that while maybe this was just the overall mistake of should have been double checked who was added, maybe we should have been a little more aware who was in the chat. These are guys who got a lot going on. I mean, JD Vance now is going to Greenland, which we'll get to in a moment. I just feel that what Goldberg did was very disingenuous, and it's one thing to rattle on Trump or bash him for policies or this or that, but this is more so concerning just average communication between people who are trying to safeguard America. And again, no critical details were actually revealed. This was all after the strikes. I just feel that, I don't know, the Democrats are going to make this into literally the next Watergate
Yeah,
scandal.
they're trying to make it be like a Watergate when it's so far away
when
from
it's
that.
like it's far from it. It's far. I'm not even just going to get into it, but we know what Hillary Clinton did with those emails and the smashing of the Blackberries. If you really want to talk about trying to hide, let's remind ourselves what she was capable of doing. And she even had the audacity to comment on it. And of course, when she commented on it, she turned off her comments so people couldn't respond with how they felt with her response to it. So let's go to the 47 report real quick. I'll actually start on the JD Vance section. We reported this earlier. Usha Vance is going to Greenland this Friday, Second Lady Usha Vance. But now it looks like JD Vance is joining, and he's going to reveal, or in this clip, he'll reveal what his intention of going there is all about. So, Ryan, let's play it.
Hey guys, it's JD Vance, the vice president, and there was so much excitement around Usha's visit to Greenland this Friday that I decided that I didn't want her to have all that fun by herself, and so I'm going to join her. I'm going to visit some of our guardians in the Space Force on the northwest coast of Greenland and also just check out what's going on with the security there of Greenland. As you know, it's really important. A lot of other countries have threatened Greenland, have threatened to use its territories and its waterways to threaten the United States, to threaten Canada, and of course to threaten the people of Greenland. So we're going to check out how things are going there. And I say that speaking for President Trump, we want to reinvigorate the security of the people of Greenland because we think it's important to protecting the security of the entire world. Unfortunately, leaders in both America and in Denmark, I think, ignored Greenland for far too long. That's been bad for Greenland. It's also been bad for the security of the entire world. We think we can take things in a different direction, so I'm going to go check it out.
All right, so look, Vance is obviously going to visit some American soldiers over there, the Space Force Guardians, because we do have a base over there in Greenland. But there's no doubt that the intention of this visit is for JD Vance to kind of start making the pathway of like, hey, Greenland, we're still interested in having you absorbed into the U.S. I've read reports that there are some Greenlanders who are very much for it, and then there are some who are very much against it. We've talked very extensively on the show, although it's been a few weeks because it went a little silent on the Greenland talks. But a big reason for the acquisition of Greenland, besides their rare earth, their natural resources that we can tap into up there, are the shipping lane opportunities that we can have in the Arctic. I think the idea of acquiring Greenland is definitely way more tangible than trying to acquire the country of Canada. But I think JD Vance now joining on the trip is just another signal of a new leadership is in Greenland. They did just elect a new prime minister over there, even though they are still kind of a whole part of Denmark. But this is clearly an indication that the Trump administration isn't going to step back, that this is hey, we're serious. We really would like you guys, to join the U.S. Maybe as a territory, maybe as the 51st state. I'd be more subject to say it probably will be more of a territory situation. But very clearly, JD Vance now joining the trip is because I was wondering. I said it to Ryan. I was like, why is Usha Vance just going? With the delegation. I'm sure she was probably like, why am I just going? Like, you're supposed to be the next future president. Let join on in. So he's going to be going up there on Friday.
And to just add on that, I think it should be a territory, not the 51st state. That's all I have to say.
Okay. So I was going to say, is there, do you want to give reason why or?
Well, I mean, the flag, I would like it with the 50 states, with the 50, stars on it. And we would get the same privileges with Greenland if it was a territory instead of a, you wouldn't need a passport to go visit.
Right. And I think just the overall process of getting as a territory rather than trying to get it solidified as a state, yes, would be a lot easier. So definitely agree there. So let's go through the 47 report. So here's just some bullet points that have been going on. Trump's USCIS is pausing certain green card applications to enhance vetting, affecting hundreds of thousands of refugees brought in under President Biden, including some Afghanis. I love to hear that. We need to vet like never before. The White House revealed that Russia and Ukraine agreed to a Black Sea ceasefire and a ban on attacks on each other's energy facilities following the broker talks in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So that's always a good sign when you actually got Putin and Zelensky agreeing on something. It's very rare that those two ever do. Social Security is deleting millions of records showing people aged 120 plus after Elon Musk and Doge flagged the issue. Doge revealed that 7 million so far have been marked deceased, with 5 million to go. President Trump also pardoned Devin Archer. Devin Archer was Hunter Biden's business partner in the whole business that they were doing in Ukraine. But Archer was very, I guess, important in the overall becoming an informant and becoming a testifier against Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. So he has received a pardon. Like I said earlier, I love this. Trump ended Secret Service protection for Mayorkas. I don't think he deserves it, considering we didn't get what we deserved under him, which was protection at our border. Then we got HUD Secretary Scott Turner and Secretary of DHS Kristi Noem. They announced that taxpayer-funded housing for criminal illegal aliens will be terminated. Thank you. And then Bill Barr, remember him? I know we're not very crazy about him, but he is defending Trump regarding the deportation flights of a lot of these illegal aliens, including Venezuelan Tren de Aragua cartel members, even though Judge Boasberg believes that they should be here. I think it's great that Trump is getting maybe former or ex-allies to at least maybe shed some optimism and support for Trump in his efforts to clean up the country. Ryan, there is this woman in Congress that I continuously, day after day, cannot stand. Maybe more so now than AOC and Ilhan Omar. They're really up there. Jasmine Crockett, for some reason, is a name that just cannot escape the headlines as of recently. She's the Texas representative who kind of talks like this, But when you really kind of look at past videos of her, talks more like this. Well, whenever she talks, it's usually BS and garbage. And yesterday, at a human rights campaign event, she made fun of the disabilities of Governor Abbott, who has been paraplegic since he was in his 20s. So he's in a wheelchair. And I'll allow the clip to play for itself about the name that she gives him.
And because we in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes.
Governor Hot Wheels. I don't know how much lower this woman can go. I think that's probably pretty low. I don't believe she belongs in Congress. I believe she should just have her own reality television show on BET, truthfully. But regardless, I had this in the 47 report as well. Representative Randy Weber, he's a Republican out of Texas. He's introducing a censure resolution against Crockett for mocking Governor Abbott, which I think is fantastic. I think she needs to shut up. What do you think, Rye?
I think she's wicked and almost borderline demonic. I mean, she goes up there and calls him Governor Hot Wheels. And I mean, that's like, it's just despicable. I mean, a tree fell on him when he was, 26 in his 20s. And, you know, he came over those odds, became the governor of one of the most biggest, powerful states in the union. And she's going to sit there and call him that. She's a disgrace. And I don't know why anyone would stand side by side with her. She's a bad image. And I don't know, she's a fraud and a coward, in my opinion.
You know, I really do think everything we talked about connects today. There's just no way in my mind I can believe the fact that someone like her could honestly win an election or a re-election. This is the Democrats' messaging. They don't have a plan for the future or the safety or security or the longevity of America. Their plan is, how do we crush Trump? How do we just have those zingy clickbait headline moments? And how do we just rally up the wrong kind of insane people who, you know, don't know what gender they are? Which, you know, Ryan, I think I included this in the 47 report. Some countries in Europe are putting a travel advisory on us because Trump only recognizes male and female as two genders. So they're putting a travel warning for transgender Europeans who are looking to visit the U.S. Really? Just, I'm telling you, if Trump's executive order on really getting these elections fixed up and maybe states that are a little more on the liberal side following suit, I don't see how these people could win. Really. I would like to believe there are more sane, level-headed, normal Americans, because I get to message or meet a lot of you guys too, and I know you fall in that category. And then the little category are the crazy radicals, leftist, Antifa, transgender. We need radical Islam in the country, and we need to protect every other foreign nation than our own. I really want to believe that that group is just a small minority with just a loud voice, and this grander scope is the actual will of the people. I would love to see if Jasmine Crockett, in the same way Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman, is voted out and is never in Congress again. I think what she did there to Abbott, you know, someone who, you know, is very mostly, in most part, I can't really speak too much to anyone who lives in Texas. I know there's grievances with some of his leadership, but I think I would take a Governor Abbott over a Governor Crockett, that's for sure. So for her to even just make a statement like that, despicable. I have one last video here that I want to play for you guys. We started a video yesterday with Trump receiving a holy cross gift from the Archbishop of Greece. In the same interview that we just played earlier with Trump on Newsmax, we have a clip from that same interview. The reporter asked Trump if he's a little more in touch with his faith as of now, especially, you know, following what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, and then what actually almost happened in West Palm not more than a month later. And Trump's response, just every time I hear him talk about it, and just like how he's a little more reconnected to his faith because of it, it's something when you hear it, you realize that maybe we do have the right person in the position right now. So Ryan's going to play it.
I want to run this by you. Millions of people pray for you. Churches organize it. Are you ever aware of that in any way? Can you feel those prayers? Can you feel that support?
Well, if you think about it, I shouldn't be here with you right now. You know, I have sons that are great shots. They said it's not possible to miss from that distance. Now, it wasn't a complete miss. I still get that little throbbing feeling. But had I not turned away at that very, very, very instant, I wouldn't be sitting here with you. So in that way, but I think you might be talking about, because I think praying before the fact, but after that, I think it might have been to a new level. I've had great support, and I do feel the support. I really do. And I think, somebody said that God saved me in order to save this country. This country was going down, Greg. If this election wasn't won, this country had no chance. This country is going to be, remember I used to say for years, we're going to be Venezuela on steroids. And that's what was happening to the country. And now we're turning it around. And I think we're turning it around fast.
Yeah, Ryan, I think, Trump's not perfect. He's got his faults. But he's also a very funny guy. I mean, we just watched one of those Apprentice episodes last night. And it's just interesting seeing him back then and now. Obviously, he's still the same guy, but clearly this is a man that's had 20 years of, besides just being a real estate developer and the businessman that he is, everything he's went through to get back into the presidency. Part of me just thinks that, like, when you go through something like that, you have to reflect and say, like, maybe my purpose is greater. He says it, right? God saved me so I can save the country. And if I do believe it, if Trump's so authentic in that in that sentiment, he knows he's only got 4 years. He knows he needs to hand off that torch and mantle, most likely to JD Vance. But look, things always change. You never know. He realizes that his second term here is cleanup duty. And it's a shame, because I'm sure if we had 8 consecutive years of Trump, we would be in a different place. But as I said, what Biden was able to do in 4 years, this is basically now another 4 years for Trump to clean it all up. And maybe someone like JD Vance then takes it. And if he gets 8 years, you can really see this country make a turnaround. And I have hope. I mean, Brian, you can speak to it if you like. If you actually look at some of the demographics of the younger generation of Americans, Gen Z, and soon to be after that, Generation Alpha, you kind of see more of a conservative, independent mindset than you did in millennials, or even in some cases with Gen X. I think that if he can clean up for 4 years and we can get someone in who can really, torchbearer for 8 years, we won't have to hear from Jasmine Crockett's.
Yeah, I think what was it? The Wall Street Journal. They did a report on Generation Z, my generation, where they swing politically, and I think it was the first generation in American history where it swung more conservative rather than liberal at such a young age. And then they said that they expect that Generation Alpha will be even more conservative than mine. So, I mean, that's a long-term outlook, in the sense that it's going to take us a while for my generation or our Generation Alpha to start ensuing roles in the government. But, I do have confidence that I'm happy that my generation, the generation underneath me, are able to see through the facade and not fall for the mainstream media. And I guess you can account that for podcasts like this, because, my generation's rather be watching podcasts than, CNN's nightly news. So I think it's good. I think it's a good progression. If I heard that our two generations were definitely more left leaning, it would be definitely concerned. But I think a lot of that you can credit to Trump, because a lot of people that I know really look up to him and like what he's doing. So
I agree. And we saw it with the voting turnout this time around, how many, shifted into voting for Trump. I think when you look at the younger generations and you're born into a country that's massively in debt, that talks about maybe Social Security won't be a thing soon, that talks about all these foreign nations that have been abusing us, and things that are so inflated in price that are out of reach. It starts to become a nothing. We have nothing to lose mentality. We have everything to gain. So I would love to see it if, as you just mentioned, that really takes the shape of future generations, and we can really see the country actually strive. If there's one benefit with the whole, how I said earlier, how technology is supposed to make things easier and better, but obviously with voting it was abused. I think technology and what it has been able to prosper with social media and communication online is that's a little bit hard for the elites to pull one over on us, so to say. I think there's just too much transparency on that level to where the secrets and the hiding of things can only be done so much in the shadows until it's exposed. Imagine everything that was, I don't know, said as confirmed truth decades past for us to only find out decades later that it was manipulated. So with that said, it makes me a little more hopeful for the younger generation to become strong leaders of a country that hopefully gets fixed in these next 4 years and onward. With that said, that is to the end of today's show. Thank you guys for joining us. And like I said at the beginning, as we foresee it, I don't think DML will be back tomorrow. So no live shows probably until next week. But regardless, we thank you guys for being here. Please sign up for the 47 Report at 47report.com. And like I said, when you refer to people, get the awesome drink coaster. Our DML CBD BOGO for today are the gummies. So just go to dmlcbd.com/BOGO. Place your order there. If you have any troubles with any of the orders today or previous, you can always reach out to Ashley. She'll get back to you, and she'll make sure it's all fixed up. As for today's Team DML blessing, I would like to give it to Jeanette Bazinet, and I hope you guys all have an awesome Wednesday. Talk to you tomorrow.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.